Welcome to another YouTube video from here. Today we're going to be talking about healing and meditation. Because hopefully this stone will heal my bloody cold, because I'm still cold. Can you believe it, guys? I'm joking, obviously this video is not going to be about this, as you can guess from the title. Today we're going to be talking about the perfect workout, the perfect exercises that you need as an individual to grow the bunda. It's not even switched on. Healing. Before we start, guys, remember to like and subscribe, otherwise not healing from you. I'm going to turn it off. Like and subscribe. Enough now. Let's get into the video now. Come on. Enough with the jokes. We had a bit of a funny mood at the moment. So as I was saying before, today's video is going to be about finding the perfect routine for you, the perfect workout routine. And why is it important? I filmed a video about different body compositions as well, and different body types, and how genetics can really play an important role when training, okay? So today I'm going to help you find out those variations of exercises that can work for you. And if you want online coaching as well with me directly, and if you want to find out a perfect workout plan, including a meal plan and obviously the workout plan itself, link in the description below. If you want to start online coaching with me, because it's personalized to you and it's very one-to-one with me, and I help you and I create a plan from scratch based on you, on your genetics, and on your needs and goals, okay? I'm going to go down to the gym now, and I'm going to be showing you different variations of different exercises. What I want you to do is to try every single one of them, okay? And see what feels best for you. So the first thing I want you to trial is to see whether it's best for you to squat with your feet wider apart or with a smaller stance, okay? Either a wider stance or a smaller stance, or even with your feet slightly rotated, okay? So there is different ways you can position your feet in order to do your squats, okay? According to your genetics. What I would suggest normally is to try different squat stances and see which one works the most for you, and then you can feel more in your glutes. Second thing is where you want to position your bar. Either high bar or low bar. Now, if you're squatting with a high bar, you'll have your chest right up, okay? More upright position, okay? You'll be more hip dominant as well, okay? Quad dominant as well. So you want to keep an upright position. That's how you should be squatting if you position your bar high. So that means on top of your traps. If you position your bar a little bit lower, okay, so at the bottom of your traps towards your scapula, okay, you want to be leaning more forward, okay? That will be more lower back focused. So if you've got lower back problems, I wouldn't recommend doing this. It will always be a little bit more glute focused as well, and that's to notice. But you want to be leaning a little bit more forward, okay? And squatting like this. Next thing to remember, very, very important, and again, I've talked about this before, it's about your breathing, right? Just because the way you breathe will help you assist your squats. And if you're breathing correctly, you won't need a belt. I know that a lot of people say they suffer from lower back problems when they're squatting. This is because they're not breathing correctly. The way you should breathe is to grasp a lot of air in and kind of breathe in with your abdomen rather than your chest. So don't breathe in with your chest, don't fill up your chest, okay? It's like your diaphragm here. So you want to fill up your stomach. It's also like with air when you breathe, okay? So that this stabilizes and it helps you, and it assists you during the squat. So we got the high bar squat. So high bar gets placed right on top of your traps, okay? Again, remember to keep your chest up for this type of squat. Breathe in. And breathe out, okay? So that will be more hip dominant as well, will target your quads a little bit more. Now, You want to place your bar slightly lower, okay? So that is called a low bar squat, okay? You want to be trying both and see which one works best for you. So with this, you want to be leaning a little bit more forward, okay? Same thing. Important thing, you might be someone that doesn't like doing a full range of squats, a full range of motion squat at all, okay? For example, or you might have other things going on. For example, for me at the moment, because I never used to stretch, which is very important, by the way, remember to stretch always. I wouldn't say I hurt my hips, but they're feeling a bit more sensitive at the minute. So a better alternative for me, rather than full range of motion at the moment, instead of doing full range of motion squats, I'm doing box squats. I'm 5'6", and a bench works amazing for me. Another thing as well, different gyms will have different benches. So for example, I go to 2 different gyms, but anyways, besides the point, but there is another gym that I go to, and the bench is much higher than this one, and it feels wrong to do a box squat there. That's why it's important to test it out. It feels wrong for me and for my height. What I want you to do is to test out either a box, apply your box, okay, or a bench and see what works again for you. This is all about you. I want you to realize, I don't want you to copy other people, even like other influencers, or even myself, okay? You can't copy other people because we're all different. We all have different genetics, different heights, different femurs, okay? So it's really important that you try, and if something feels better than another thing, do that, okay? So I want you to lightly sit on the bench. I don't want you to sit back like this, because what happens here when you're sitting back, you're putting a lot of pressure here on your spine, okay? Lightly touch it and come back up. Again, stop squeezing at the top. It's very nice and simple. Another variation, we'll be using 2 benches, and it's just a squat in between benches. Now, the elevation, whenever you use any sort of elevation at the gym, it'll allow you to go deeper. The range of motion is much more exaggerated. So just simply get on top of this. I like to hold it like this. Some people like to hold it this way, but it's better, obviously, to hold it this way because it allows you to go deeper this way, okay? So same stance, go all the way down. Okay, you want to go deeper. You don't want to stop here, otherwise there is no point in you using the benches, okay? The benches are there to help you go lower, okay, to improve the range of motion. And up. Obviously, another great alternative, you guys know that I love goblet squats, okay? So a great way to feel them in your glutes, I'm gonna show you very quickly. Goblet squats are always great for beginners as well, especially if you're not really used to squatting, you're not very sure about your form. These will help you a lot because they're just much easier in general. You don't actually need to put your feet so far apart. Again, it also depends on your genetics, but if you put them a little bit closer, okay? Closer together, you don't need to put the feet so wide and pointing so outward, if it makes sense. You don't need to do this. Like this will be fine, okay? You want to grab the weight and keep your elbows in, okay? So nothing like this. Elbows in, close to your chest. And as you go down, I want you to open up your legs, okay? So again, and pause at the top. You'll really feel it in the bottom of your glutes. Now, onto lunges. Unilateral exercises are great. First of all, because they help you with fixing imbalances. There are 2 different types of lunges that you can in general, okay? But there are so many different variations that you can do. If you want to target your quads more, okay, you'll do a forward lunge. So striding forward and lunging. So again, you want to keep an upright position, okay? Chest up and then back down. If you want to target your glutes more, you will do a reverse lunge. So you'll be striding backwards. Again, this time, I want you to lean slightly forward, okay? So leaning forward, okay? So that's how you target your glutes more. If you want to do this variation with a squat rack, absolutely you can do that. Just bear in mind that when you do it with a free weight, it'll require a lot more balance, okay? I'll do reverse, and you'll notice that I actually struggle in my balance, because actually that's one of my weaknesses, balance. So I'm usually not great at doing barbell free weight lunges. Okay, so you can see I'm very wobbly. It's not my favorite. Okay, but again, that might feel right for you, so absolutely do it. And another important thing, you can also do walking lunges as well, which are even harder. So if you want to target your glutes, bigger stride, okay, and you just keep walking. It's very nice and easy. An alternative that you want to use, especially if you're a beginner, you want to use the T-bar, okay? This is easier because the range of motion is more limited, so it's much shorter, and it's also easier to balance, okay? So you want to grab the bar. You can grab it either this way, or you can put it on your shoulder if you prefer. I just prefer holding it with my hands. Okay, just very nice and easy. Making sure you lean slightly forward, okay? And you'll tend to feel it on your glutes. So a great variation is the Bulgarian split squats. I do them every week. I just love them, but they're killer, just to warn you. Now, a lot of people, you see a lot of people that they will tend to do them on the bench. So you'll see them placing the foot on the bench, just going all the way down and up. That's fine, you can do that if you like it. Generally speaking though, a higher elevation like the bench will tend to target your quads more. So if you wanted to make a little bit more glute dominant, you could use a lower elevation. I usually use a Bosu ball, and what I do, I tend to place it against the bench so that it doesn't slide backwards when I'm using it, okay? And then I'll also use a little plate just to elevate a little bit my front foot, okay? This is called also a deficit split squat, okay? So really nice and simple. Just place my back foot on the Bosu ball and the front foot on top of the plate, and descend down. Slightly leaning forward and descend down, okay? Another Bulgarian split squat variation, in case you didn't want to use the Bosu ball, and you wanted to use dumbbells, for example, which are much easier in terms of a load, okay? I like, rather than using the normal bench and placing the foot there, this is much more comfortable. Just because your foot does not hurt, the plant of the foot is just much more comfortable. So what I like to do, I just like to, first of all, place this at the lower setting, okay? Add a little bar pad here. Place my foot on top of it, okay? And I like to use one dumbbell at a time, just because it's easier for balance. You could use both of them if you want, but I personally prefer doing one dumbbell at a time. And to keep balance, you could either hold onto a bench, so you could lift it up and hold onto it, to even give yourself more balance, or you could just go straight away. Remember, if you want to target your glutes more, you want to lean forward. So, our beloved hip thrusts. Okay, you guys know the hip thrust is a must, especially if you want to grow your glutes, okay, for the bunda gains. That's always important. However, there are different variations that you can do, different pieces of equipment that you can use. I'm going to compare the two things with the bench and the plyo box. You want to make sure you place the end of the scapula, the bottom of your scapula, against the bench, okay? The only thing is, if you're using a bench, sometimes you have to climb up to make sure that you're in the right position. So you want to make sure that the platform that you're using is against the bottom of your scapula, which is basically over here, okay? Or more easily, it's easier for you to understand, is where you place your bra strap, especially if you're a girl. If you're a guy, I mean, it's a bit harder to figure out, I suppose. But if you're using a bench, it's a little bit harder if you've got a heavy weight, because you're going to have to climb up like that and then perform the hip thrust, unless you're taller. If you're a tall gal, then I'm jealous. I'm just a bit short. I'm 5'6", so I will not be able to perform this correctly unless I'm climbing up here, okay? Using a 40 centimeters box is much easier. You can see it's just so much more natural, and I don't have to climb up. I can just lift the weight straight away I just use loads of gym mats, and I know that you'll think that I'm a psychopath, but it just protects my hips a little bit more and it feels more comfortable to me. So push up and down, up and down. You could be a person that actually prefers glute bridges. Remember about your pelvis, okay? So you want to tuck your pelvis in, okay? So another little variation, so it's the same glute bridge exercise, but some people might find this a little bit better. It's using a Bosu ball and placing your head on top of it. So you basically act like a sort of pillow, and you'll put your neck, it's like you're doing a hip thrust basically. Imagine when you're doing a hip thrust and you're looking forward. It's basically placing your head forward, that's what it's doing. And it's doing it naturally when you're lying down. It's basically exactly the same. Now, some people might find this extremely uncomfortable, and others instead might feel it much more on the glutes. Again, I always recommend testing it out. I feel like I'm just kind of asleep and I'm using a pillow. But again, try it out and see what it feels like, okay? So, again, weight on your heels and push up. So very quickly, another quick variation that you can do of for your hip thrust are the Smith machine. I've seen loads of people doing them. I personally do not like them just because the setup is a little bit harder in general, because the range of motion will be so much shorter depending on your Smith machine as well, because some Smith machines don't allow you to go all the way down. For example, some Smith machines just stop here, for example, so that will be impossible to even perform a hip thrust. But even for this one that goes all the way down to the bottom, it's really hard to achieve full range of motion. So the only way to increase and improve the range of motion is by using an aerobic stepper. So you want to step on this and keep your heels on top of it, okay? So I personally do not like this variation, but some people find it easier. Okay, so nice and simple, heels on the aerobic stepper, and you can either use the standard hip thrust when you look up, or you keep looking forward again. Now, you know, for me, I'm always going to be honest about everything. I personally don't deadlift. I don't like any of the deadlift variations. Personally, I just don't like them. And that's what I mean when I'm talking about finding what works for you. I just don't do them in my program. But some people might really like them, might really feel them in the glutes. So that's perfectly fine. Include them, feel free to do so. And I'll show you different variations of them as well, okay? So you could do them on the Smith machine. The only thing with the Smith machine is just a bit harder sometimes because, again, it doesn't really allow you to go so deep. So really nice and simple. RDLs. You could do single leg ones. So grab them one leg at a time. Remember, you want to be looking down when you descend down. Follow the movement with your eye gaze. Same thing here. And then obviously we have the different variations of deadlifts. We got the sumo deadlifts and RDLs, Romanian deadlifts. In terms of the sumo deadlifts, mistakenly thought to be targeting your glutes more, but that's a myth. Actually, studies show that both the variations, both RDLs and sumo deadlifts, they target your glutes in the same way, kind of thing. Okay. So sumos, you want to keep a wide stance, feet rotated outwards. Your hands need to be inside. Okay. You want to pick the bar and bend your hips, and then lift and squeeze. Okay. Remember, this is a hinge movement. That means that your movement should start from your hips, okay? You want to hinge at your hips this way. So it's not you bending forward, it's rather you pushing your hips back as the first movement. So nice and simple, push your hips back. So for your sumos, push your hips back and then bend at your knees. Okay, the range of motion is much more limited, and this is more hip dominant again. So if you've got problems around your hips, you want to prefer RDLs. RDLs instead, you want to keep your back neutral and go the way down, or go all the way down and up. As you can see, I'm not bending on my hips like that, okay? I'm just keeping my knees slightly bent, okay? And achieving a deep stretch here in my hamstrings. This is more lower back dominant instead. So if you've got lower back problems, you want to prefer your sumos instead, okay? Okay, so that's a little bit of a safer alternative for those people that have got lower back pain, just because it takes a lot of pressure off your back in terms of when you do your deadlifts, okay? So you want to use a T-bar, as you can see that I'm using over here. And it's just nice and simple. You perform a normal RDL. The only reason why it doesn't target your back as much is just because the range of motion is more limited, okay? I'll just show you, just perform it exactly the same way. There are so many different variations and other variations you could try, but it's up to you to test them all out and see what works for you when you're building your plan. Ideally, you want to make sure that you use variations that work more for you and that don't hurt you, and also that you can feel more in your bunda, okay? That's how you build a perfect plan for yourself. You need to stick to the variations that feel right for you. Also, obviously, I showed you all these different compound movements. These are the main core exercises, but there are so many other different exercises, isolation exercises, banded exercises, monster walks, clams, abductor machines for the TFL, also side kicks on the cable, so many different variations that you could use to isolate your glutes, okay? But I hope that this video helped you in the meantime. Make sure you give these a try. Let me know in the comments which one you prefer the most. Again, if you want to inquire about online coaching and want me to help you decide what variation works best for you and help you as well with a meal plan, the link is in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you very soon, familia.